Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Builders Call. Excited for the conversation that we're going to have today because it's a little bit more intimate. And as we jump in, just to set some context, we do these calls on the first and the third Tuesdays of the month. And anybody that's looking to skill up and be in the conversation, be coaching, supported, challenged, have your perspectives, your own perspective shifted, is welcome to this call. It doesn't matter if you're brand new to EXP or if you have an organization of thousands of people already and everyone in between. When we come together as a community, we're able to accelerate the learning and growth. And so our commitment to our organization with Empire Builders Pro is to keep these conversations active and alive. And the people who want to grow and plug in show up. And so we're here to support you in that. So as we jump in, I do have a topic for today's call. I didn't text it out. However, at some point, we'll wind this into the conversation. And it is about pivoting from following to leading to be able to create personal momentum. But before we do that, what I'd love to do is just get a feel of where everyone is at today on the call. And if there was one thing that you could walk away with from today's conversation that would be most supportive or impactful for you, what would that be?
So context, I don't know. I think I've got 14 in my downline now. I want to have 10 on my front line by the end of the year. I think that I need 3 more on my front line. And then I want 25 and 25. That's my goal. And a BHAG, Casey. And so just to stay motivated, like I don't know what that looks like, but sometimes I get discouraged and it's hard, mindset, right? Keeping positive about momentum. Like I had Jesse has put a sticker on his computer that said, "They're all coming," and I need to get that back. Like I need that kind of "they're all coming" mindset and some real dialed in skill set for me. Like I've been at EXP a year. It's a vast ocean, right? Like that someone could drown in. And so to know, like I got a little bit of dangerous information about Revenos, which I think is like, I just want to know enough to be dangerous about all of the things that producing agents want to know about EXP. And if you have some information there, and now I'll be quiet.
Perfect. No, I love that. That's awesome. Um, and I'm putting it in the chat. And I put 3 XP. So we get 3 times instead of double. That's my for 2025. Okay, Stacy, what do you want to walk away from today's conversation with?
So I am making a transition from having a small team of pains in my neck and brain drains. I'm just being honest. They know it. It's all good. We've set them free to do their thing. And I'm trying to, or I am creating space for agent attraction to take a larger part of my focus. My biggest challenge is converting the coaching I've been doing since 2016, making the most of that, converting people to coming to EXP. I've had a hard time. We've been broker agnostic for a long time. So I struggle with straddling those two things, being respectful of that space, that's broker agnostic, but also being there for them to fall back into when it's time for me to be their plan B. So my org is small. I'm at 8. I'm tired of being at 8. I was a KW team leader. There's no reason I'm at 8 except for me. So I'm here to just fall on the sword, be honest, and say, where do we go from here?
Okay, I love that. Thank you. And so you were a team leader previously at KW?
Yep.
Okay. Love it. All right. And it looks like we had 2 that dropped off. So
Scared to say.
this became an even more intimate conversation. I love it. All right. So let's build a conversation off of these 2 things. Stacy, how long have how long have you been at EXP?
About 2.5 years.
2.5 years. Okay. All right. So I think this is a great kind of reference point to start with, is that there is a mindset that's important to a mindset shift that's important to have. So as a team leader at KW, what do you feel was, if there was a target that you had that you were consistently every month working towards, what was that target? What was in the conversation?
So, it was a 2-10-40, right?
Okay. Yep. And then the objective of that was what?
I'm just sitting here thinking of how weird that is that just like shot out of my mouth. I haven't been a TL since 2016. How quickly that came out of my mouth. I'm like, oh, programmed, right? So 10 net recruits a month was our standard.
Okay. And how long were you a team leader for?
8 years.
8 years. Okay. So you are used to functioning in, or it's obviously clearly in your DNA because you didn't have to think about it. It just
Oh,
popped.
that's a little scary.
It just came right out. And so there's a disconnect based on results. There's a disconnect of you being in a role where that's what you were doing for those years to, okay, now you're here and it's different, right? And the thing that I've observed over the years, and the big difference is when you are a salaried employee as a team leader, you are in a paid position for a company to recruit to a company, and you have a set of metrics and a standard that you're being held to 1040 with that objective of net 10, right? And so within that, that is you keeping your job is correlated to that performance metric, right?
Right.
The conversations, while the conversations are about agents and their business and their lives and their future, the conversation really is more of a Keller Williams conversation, right? You're bringing people to a company where they're joining a company.
For sure.
And the biggest breakdown that I see for people that have been in team leader roles that come to EXP is that all of a sudden now you are actually asking people to join you.
Right.
And that is a big difference in a conversation between joining you and joining a company. Because if we make it about a company, it's going to be a set of conversation items and what being at this company can do for them. But if it's about joining you and the vision that you have and utilizing EXP as a platform to get those things, the dynamic is now shifted, right? And so where I see there's a lot of times a gap to bridge is in that mindset shift of I'm actually able to build something based on my own vision and my own brand of what I want to create and handpick the people that are going to be a fit for that vision and that brand. Versus I'm working on a net 10 this month.
Yeah. And it's a pulse taking exercise,
Yeah,
which sucks if I can be blunt.
it totally does. It totally does because you're looking for warm bodies.
Right. Right.
Right.
Right. Right. Right.
So I think that if there's something that you maybe could spend some time with, and Claire, this could work for you too, because this, when it comes to getting burned out or getting discouraged or, all the things that are going to be normal to happen, is if you create a vision that you're really energized by, something that's going to be uniquely yours. So Claire, it'll be unique to you. And when people see that, they're going to be like, oh yeah, that's Claire. Stacy, it'll be unique to you, right? Rick and I have Empire Builders Pro that's unique to us. Why? Because our vision was to have a global organization where there was a community of people. I mean, have you guys looked at the logo? Do you know what the logo looks like?
I've seen it, but I don't have it burned into my memory, but
I'm going to pull it up for you right now. So, and here's how much detail went into this vision, and it's what has kept, it's what's kept us going in part because of the size of the vision. So I'm going to share my screen and let's look at it. So there it is.
Oh, right on.
So all of these are people
Mhm.
that are facing outward because they are serving their communities and the world. And they've chosen to align shoulder to shoulder in a community. The reason why we called it empire builders is because what we recognize is that everyone really, if we're being honest, anybody in an entrepreneurial space, and particularly in real estate, want freedom. And freedom requires building something, some kind of empire. Now, whether you're going to get there through, a beautiful real estate portfolio because you're going to invest, or you're going to build and grow a sales team, or you're going to build an organization within EXP, however you define that and whatever your go-to-market strategy is to create it is going to be unique to each person, right? But we recognize that freedom is the driver for people that are in real estate. And so being able to build an empire with a community of people, and the pro is so that it was done professionally, because there's a lot of ugly, messy, not great ways that things get built. And so we wanted to create a community of professionals that were committed to being professionals in the industry. So when I think about that for us, it's like, okay, every conversation I now have with somebody that is about their business, their life, and their future, are they hungry enough? Do they really want their own empire, or are they just looking for a little vacation money? And is that where attention goes, energy flows. So who's going to get my attention? So I'm constantly in my mind, I'm now sifting and sorting, and I'm looking like, who are the people that have a desire to do something, to build something, that if they did that over this platform at EXP and they did that within this community, they could thrive and flourish, and we could have a great time helping walking with them on that journey, right? So I think this is really the foundation of anybody that's serious about building something, is getting clear on what that's going to be for you. So when you get up each day to engage with it and participate in the way that you will, whether you want to hold yourself to something that you used to do that worked, right? The 2-10-40, you could totally do that if you want a metric to be able to measure an activity. But now you're layering it over this conversation of with Stacy's vision for an organization that she's going to grow and build and create, versus a net 10 for a company that's going to give me a check to perform this, that I may get bonused on based on the productivity of the talent that I can attract. So I know that was a lot. How is that landing just as a starting point?
For me, it's landing 100%. For a lot of reasons. Number one, as much as I have thought about my vision, where I get caught up is I want to lean into Jesse's vision, right? Jesse's created a lot of these things that I can lean into so I don't get distracted trying to do like my own thing too soon, kind of situation. And so I think I kind of stopped there. I don't know that I went the distance to really flesh out something that like creates insomnia. You know what I mean? Like I want to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go, oh my God, I get to do this. So I think I need to spend a little more time there, to be honest with you. Like I think I kind of stopped that process, just being like, okay. And then the other part of this, very frankly, is skills that pay the bills right now are coaching and production. So it tends to take more of a back seat than it should, which is why I figured I had to create some space. It was just going to have to happen as part of an overall system and a shift than me just remembering each day that I need to do something more. And I love this, which was great because I have to remind myself of this. I wrote this down. Freedom requires building something. And I don't know that A, I've brought freedom into the conversation with the people that I've talked to, and then B, that I've really thought about freedom as their driver, which is why I didn't bring it up, right? So that really stood out to me as well.
Love that. So if you can shift the way that you are currently, what I heard you say about Jesse and the resources, and don't worry about reinventing the wheel. is if you can get really clear on the vision that you have and then recognize that you don't need to spend any time and energy. It's a plug and play with all the resources that are created down to this call.
Right.
People that are going to be in conversation that are serious that actually want to build something, and free yourself from that and just go, what are the important resources for me to know about, which we're going to pivot into now because I've been working on this in the background and I'm going to be in LA this week doing some live events. And so thank goodness Selena has supported it in taking this and making it, actually a thing. Because it's scary being in my head sometimes. And then you just go, you've got a vision that will sit inside of Jesse's vision that sits inside of Empire Builders Pro. And so when you now have a go-to-market conversation, you have this, it's like a buffet of resources depending on who you're in conversation with. And if you just know what the resources are as you are connecting with and working with individual people, you're going to get to know where it's a match and a fit for them to plug them into a conversation that's going to give them the, what they're looking for and you the return, right? Without you having to go create it. So I always say, like, you don't want to be the tool where everyone's coming to you, because you'll never have freedom with that. You want to be the resource that knows where to point people to get them plugged into what they're looking for and what they want. So by way of example, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen again. And so let me just pull it up. All right. Maybe I'll share my screen. That requires me. There it is. Okay. So have you seen this resource?
I have seen it, but I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't work with the live links, and I'm technologically impaired. So,
This
do
is
you know what I mean?
amazing.
Yeah. So I have this saved as a bookmark on my laptop and on my computer, and it just says $85 EXP. So this is what your $85 at EXP gets you every month. So when someone says, well, am I going to get leads? Do you guys have leads? I can go, yes, actually. We have 9 sources where you can plug into and receive leads at EXP. For them to be able to actually see them, the live links, they need to be, so like, there's a KV Core one. It's going to take you have to be able to log in.
Got it.
And so you have to be with EXP to be able to log in to see those things. But this is a place to have a conversation with someone about, well, let's look at, we're not going to look at all of this while you get all of this for your $85 a month. We can now make this the buffet that's going to be specific to what's important for them. Well, what's the marketing look like? And do I have to, this, that, and the other thing? Yeah, you can take your brand and we can sit it over the top of EXP. I'm not sure why that is doing that.
Probably because it's migrating to Canva. Is
There,
that what?
yeah. So here's the marketing center. Oh my goodness. Yes. Do you want to do things in marketing? And it's, plug and play. You can customize, you can do your own, built for you. So this is a roadmap to just be able to have a conversation with someone. And if you are, Stacy, you've got clearly experience of the things that are important for people that they're looking for when they're looking to make a transition. And if you familiarize yourself with, okay, here's the one-stop shop to go to plug people into to get it. This is also a retention tool, because a lot of the times when people are like, well, what am I getting for my, 16,000 a year? Well, what am I getting for my $85 a month? Well, what am I getting? This is a typical agent conversation. What am I getting? It's a conversation about value. And it is, I like to change that conversation to, well, what are you actually plugging into? And what are you willing to plug into, right? So I will put this link in the in our chat here.
It's
But
there. Laura
it's,
did.
Laura, you're the best. Thank you.
No, it's not that one.
Oh, that's
It's
the one.
amazing.
Okay,
It's not the one?
there's the one.
Okay.
That's the
Um,
key link to the $85 a month.
Okay.
You see it?
All right. Yeah. So great. So you sent me this, Casey, like at the beginning. The context is fabulous because I'm like, oh yeah, I have this, but you like that's the money shot for me if I leave this call with that as what I can do with it. That answers the question of the ocean and what do we do with people and how do we point them? Because my superpower is connector. Like
Mm.
that's what I do, right? And
100%.
that chart really helps that a lot. So thank you for giving it context.
Yeah. And so, I mean, let's talk about a couple of more ways we can talk about this chart, because this will give you ideas for when you're in recruiting conversations. So the referral network. Actually, workplace. Let's talk about workplace. And this would be, you can use this in a couple of different contexts. So for people that are like, oh, do you have an office? Do you have brick and mortar? Da, 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 da. Or for people that are like, I talked to a guy in Houston and he's got a 50 agent luxury brokerage and they're number one in their market. And he's like, well, what's EXP really going to do for me? I'm with a luxury brand, right? And so we had this conversation of, this is a number one mindset shift that business people, once they wrap their head around it, it's like you can't unsee what you've seen. So, okay, great. You are number one in your marketplace and you're a luxury brand. However, given the opportunity to have reach that goes outside of your marketplace into other markets, into other states, into other parts of the world, where do you think you're going to do a bigger business? Just focusing your market or having a bigger reach, right? So we start to talk about reach. And then let's look at this little thing called workplace. And they're not going to be able to see workplace, but you can share it if you want to log into yours. And when people start to understand the dynamic of, okay, wait a minute, all of the agents that are with EXP are in one central place called workplace. It's like Facebook. Exactly. It's the meta, right? But it's EXP's version. And oh, there's referral groups for Houston, and there's these local things for Houston. And then you have a company where, why are people choosing to collaborate and share everything they know versus keep it to close to their chests like they do in a competitive environment? Oh, because every time an EXP agent goes out and sells a house, it supports the value of EXP, the company of which we're all shareholders. I'm taking 5% out of every commission on every closing to get stock. And as that value gets driven up, 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 there's an incentive for people to work together, to share business and pass business that is not going to just, it's going to come, you're connected now globally as a result of doing your business over this platform. Oh yeah, that's included in your $85 a month. And then you can click through and you can show them referral networks of people for that area, or people looking for referrals. So that would be another way to use this, right? If someone wants to get really strategic in their career path and what they want to learn, they can go check out what that's going to be for EXP World and create a proactive, plan to run on. Do you guys both know about the Fast Cap program?
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
actually took it because I wanted to know. I'm a mentor. I wanted to know what I was putting them through, and I was blown away. That's an awesome program.
Yeah, so most agents are going to be focused on production. The one for January 8th is over half sold out already. So, that's the next time one of those starts. And for people that are serious about getting their business to the next level, this is a leverage point, just like all the assets Jesse has, just like all the assets Empire Builders Pro has. Oh, your focus is your sales business and getting that up. Let's do that. Let's get you here, right? So there's multiple obviously different ways that you can use this. I mean, we can come over here to the healthcare one, right? And that's another conversations for people to have options with. You can share my story if you want. And there's a, two-part healthcare. There's the health coverage, and then there's an extra plan that you can get that's a health sharing plan for $125 a month. Oh, that health sharing plan came into play when I needed to have surgery on a tumor out of my neck earlier this year. And they paid, after $1,000 of out of pocket for the life of the issue or anything associated with it, Zion Health Share pays 100% of those expenses on a health sharing need. So when I went to Stanford, could pick wherever I want to go. When I go to Stanford for a surgery that's going to be $400,000 and an overnight stay in the hospital due to the complexity of it, I was able to go in as a cash pay client for up to a 40% discount, and Zion Health Share through EXP cut the check and paid it in full before I ever showed up for surgery.
Stop it.
Wow.
Stop it.
And it's done. You know it's paid for, because I've been in health shares before where it wasn't that awesome.
It was August 22nd was my surgery. I called so the process is everything has to happen in advance. So I called Stanford. I said, I need the estimated bill for what the procedure is going to be, the breakdown of everything, and the CPT codes, which is the cash paying code for each service. They sent me a 2-page printout. I called Zion Health Share, talked to them on the phone, sent that over. They emailed me a visa number with that full amount. I called Stanford, gave them that number. It was paid for in full 3 days before I showed up for surgery.
That's crazy. That's
That
really
is
good.
bananas.
It is. But if I hadn't been with EXP and I hadn't known about that program and how to use that program, it could have been a very different, God knows where I would be having surgery or what coverage, because that's what was covered.
Wow.
It's
Out of
amazing.
pocket thing like that could be huge, right? So within each one of these, I mean, and when you start to think like, okay, this is $85 for the month that has opened up this portal of access, and you wind conversations into what that's actually going to mean for somebody. We didn't know that was going to mean that for me when we joined healthcare. We just researched it, did it, made sure we were getting good coverage. We added on the extra, and my insurance is $425 a month between, both things. Excuse me, $465 a month, but still priceless, right? So if you just like, we are the people that help other people connect the dots, which requires a couple of things. Number one, knowing what those dots are. And a way to use this in a conversation, and like you could sprinkle it in and be like, oh, you want to talk about workplace and how that's going to open you up to referral business and increasing your business by, well, I've got a great testimonial actually from, she was Dill Ward from 2023. I think this is the greatest testimonial ever, so I'm going to read it to you. This was from right before EXPCon this year. And she said, I like to re-review my posts here. Last year when I was on the Explorer Pass, meaning she wasn't with EXP yet, she was going to EXPCon to check it out, and just drinking the Kool-Aid for the first time. Now I'm here 1 year, hit icon, sit on the Oregon State AAC board. I'm a certified mentor. I have 4 mentees, and I've gotten 7 EXP network agent-to-agent referrals. I've sponsored 9 agents to the company. I can't imagine 5 years from now we'll be with the company. I love you all. This is the best group in the whole company. I'm happy to share that if you want it. But
I think she put that in the agent collective mastery post.
okay,
Yeah, but
perfect.
she's awesome. Dill is great. So,
Yeah. So, I mean, what if you could just say, oh, this little thing called workplace, what if that meant 7 agent-to-agent referrals for you in your business this year? of people that you don't know or don't have relationships with, but that find you because of EXP and the platform you're working in. Well, what do you mean? And you tell Dill's story,
Yeah.
right?
I jokingly say I'm going to start the old crone's cranky realtor because some lady literally found me like that. Like, and I have a referral agreement with her because I was old enough, I had enough deals, I had enough time in the market. She looked at my Zillow reviews and she's like, "Oh yeah, you're the one I want for my sister." Like, you're like me. I'm like, okay. So, yeah.
That's fantastic. So everybody's got, there's everyone, you're not for everyone, but there is someone for everyone, right? And then your people find you. So that one resource, here's the one, the second resource that is, Selena just texted it to me this morning. And these are, we're doing them all in one space. Share my screen again. This is still getting built, so we'll put it on Empire Builders Pro once it's finished. So this is, I'm invited to a smaller event, like a really nice luncheon with 25 agents that are either on almost ready to pull the trigger or newly here and want to build. And so that's one of the things I'll be doing in LA. We'll be down there for like an hour and a half. So I'm going to come in and get to know them and help them connect the dots, right? So everyone's going to get this, document, which is a flow chart essentially of the important pieces for them to keep it simple, but also to have everything in one spot, right? So this is the new model explained that Eric Orland did that's 13 minutes long, and it's a live link there. The EXP vending machine is the document we've been looking at. The onboarding process is the one that you get with the EXP. If you're recruiting teams or brokerages, it has its own, and I'll open it up and show it to you. It has its own flow chart with what that process is. So if someone says, well, what's that going to look like? What does this journey of the conversation look like? And then the buyer toolkits and the seller toolkits, actually opening those up with people and sharing them with them in dialogue and conversation so they can see whether it's social media content ideas or actual things, language, you name it. Like there's everything in those toolkits. And then it's important to get people plugged into the company. And if there's one place, just to keep people focused in, that's going to be the highest level to plug in, it's going to be the big agent meeting on Friday mornings. And if we can keep it that simple and go, oh yes, and we're the organization that's here to support you. And if you click on our, resources tab, which you guys have both seen, for Empire Builders Pro, that's going to, get you into all the live calls with us. Here's where do you want to play, right? As a little roadmap. So the EXP teams and brokerages, not sure if you've both seen this. However, it's another resource to be able to facilitate a conversation with. Have you seen this document?
No.
No. Okay, so here's what happens when you have somebody that you're talking to that has a team or an independent brokerage. EXP is completely dialed in about doing all of the work for you, basically, and for me. So we get the people to the table and they literally walk them through the door. And Russ Lagan is amazing at being able to, and he draws it like the story of being an agent and the life cycle of an agent and what happens in an agent's career, and asking people really where they want to end up. And it's in this context of selling something versus building something, and what if they could, and what that would look like, right? So when we and here's how to access everybody on Workplace, but there is a discovery form that's an initial form that gets filled out, and that would be it's just they ask a set of high level questions, and I'll send you guys this link so that you can click on it and see it yourselves. And what that discovery form does is it gets you a 15-minute call with corporate, with the growth team. And so on that 15-minute call, you're going to meet with the growth team and talk about your prospect so that they know exactly what the dynamics are before they ever get on a call with your person. And in that 15 minutes, then they're going to get a clear lay of the landscape. And for most people, like, so I'll give you an example. The person that had a, 50 agent brokerage that's at the end of their franchise agreement and looking, they're like, yeah, well, I don't get, why would I move to EXP or what that's going to do. And so, I think, we could have a cultural conversation, we could have a global platform conversation, but the first conversation to have is the numbers conversation. And I'm not going to like guesstimate or round up or, give a projection. And the most responsible thing to do as a business owner is look and see what the numbers are. And so what, in a context of research and due diligence, eXp will take the last 12 months of production for every single agent and you as a broker owner, and lay all of that business over the eXp platform to be able to do a side-by-side comparison on what each agent would have gotten had they been here the last 12 months and what you would have as well. And until we have that conversation, like we can talk culture, we can talk like all these other pieces, but the hiccup's always going to be, do the numbers work? So, and this person was kind of, like very well known and very, very successful in the marketplace, right? So at the end of that call, I just said, what, if anything, would you like next from us? And he's like, well, I want to do that. I want to look at the numbers. So we're in this process now where I don't need to convince him about anything about EXP. I'm just moving the ball down the court to keep them in the conversation. So that initial calls that get set up, now they will they'll release a different spreadsheet, and on that spreadsheet, all of the data for what those agents and that brokerage have done for the year, they fill in. And when that spreadsheet gets submitted, then there's this call that gets set up where now we've got the prospect on the call with you, who would be the sponsor, and the growth team, and the growth team runs that conversation. And there's different ways to structure things. So there's some flexibility within EXP. Like, does it make sense for them to be a mega team based on the number of people they have in the production that they're doing, or like the different ways that they could come into EXP of where the numbers make the most sense. So that process is important to know. Like, you're not on your own. Like, I don't ever talk numbers with anybody or go, well, you're going to get this and this and this and this and this. No. I want corporate to be having that with a full picture of their business versus the onesies, twosies of what it looks like for an individual agent. And then just as a reminder for that individual agent, it's a smaller, not a smaller conversation, but the dynamic of that conversation is different, to know that when you go to empirebuilders.pro, and it needs an S. So that it goes to the right spot. So when you're in a conversation and somebody, wants, okay, what's the community I'm going to be connected to? And visually, what does that look like? And what is that, under the why join us, you've got these 6 tiles that make it a really easy visual for an agent to just look at and do a quick comparison so that they could see those kind of things. So knowing your resources, knowing the tools, keeping them in the bookmarks, on the left-hand side of your computer or your laptop or whatever you're using to work from, and then being able to pivot and navigate through them. This is when I think about, Simon Sinek, he starts with I forget what he calls the golden something, but it's basically why, what, how. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the foundation, if we go to the beginning of the conversation today, the foundation is the why piece of it, or that central piece of it for you, the vision that you have, the one that you're building, the one that you want to bring to reality. Stacey, for you, I think the easiest thing is to just call it out, because there's always this question of agenda and being brand agnostic when you're coaching. But the truth is, that you're at EXP for a specific reason. And the reasons why you're at EXP could be a benefit to a client that you have, right? And so I think that the transparency around that is, listen, I have an important responsibility with you as a client, and that's to do just like with a buyer or seller, what's going to be in their best interest as a fiduciary, right? But I also walk this really important line and boundary of being a coach, which has me positioned as being company and brand agnostic in the industry. But the truth is, there's gaps right now for you that are able to be filled and take you to the next level. And should you ever want to have a conversation about that, I'm here for you as well, but it's not one I will be pursuing you for.
I like it.
And, you know, when, and I think of this just like in the same context, right? So I think about like New Skin, which is a direct sales company that's where I built my career. You know, it's been coming up on 18 years now. And up until a month and a half ago, maybe a month ago, no, a month and a half ago, nobody in that community that's in real estate we talked to about EXP. And I said to Rick when Rick was alive, like, they stay over there, EXP stays over here. Like, you know, because it was not until 2020 that I really jumped in, was working with Rick and helping on the EXP side of things. So when we were at my events with my community, my people, I'm like, yes, everybody knows you're a real estate agent, but don't talk to anybody about EXP. So it's that same kind of like dynamic with coaching, right? But people knew that he was in real estate and they knew that he was really successful. So when you create that space where people know they can come to you and they can talk to you, like a month and a half ago, somebody that's from that community said, hey, I want to reach out to me and said, I want to talk to you about EXP. And I was like, you know, it's been 7 years and that's the first time somebody's done that, but they came to me, right? And I keep that separation just out of respect for people and their business, because I know what it takes to build a business in that space after building one there. And, but at the same time, if somebody comes to me, I'm not going to not help them or
Sure.
not share with them, right? So whatever way you find that feels like in integrity for you to set that up. And it's more of just a positioning, right? So that you feel clean about it. And I mean, the bottom line is it really fiduciary for somebody if you're working with them, coaching them, and you know that there's things that are going to help them get here that they don't have access to, and they'll never be able to get here in the same way, and to withhold that information, right? There's that whole flip side to the conversation, right? And it's important also then from like a brand perspective to have that neutrality so that it doesn't become about company. And if you're representing a coaching platform, that it's a safe space, right? So there's like all those dynamics that go in together. And so I think it just, if you find whatever is going to be, that feels like most aligned with your values, that you can be true to, and how you want to position yourself in that way, to figure that out, that would be key also.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so that was a lot of me talking. What's bubbled to the surface? Questions, comments, things you want to dig deeper on?
Stacy, you got anything? Because I do. I don't understand rev share. So, and I'm like, high D, high I, S and C on the floor. And like, I don't care because they just keep sending me money, but that is not a good answer for the people that want to ask the question. And so I just had a conversation with someone who, when I started looking at EXP, we were going on the same track, and she's now at Epic. And she's like, it's 10% on every level and all levels are open. And that's why I like it. And I'm like, okay. I actually thought that the rev share was the old model when I joined with the 2,800, 3,200, because I found that online somewhere. So, that's not it. And somehow, somewhere, I need to understand it better.
Yeah. So here's what I tell people, because until you've been in the ecosystem and like that whole thing, for an agent that's not yet with EXP, EXP is a cloud-based company, which means they don't have all the expenses that a normal brick and mortar franchise would have, right? They're not paying leases, salaries to staff, the overhead. But they need revenue to run the company because we have over 500 employees that work for the company, right? Company-wide. So EXP's model is that every agent's on an 80-20 split until they cap. So if there's a check for $10,000 that comes in, EXP is going to get 2,000 of that. The agent's going to get 8. They're going to pay their, $40 $60 E&O per transaction, the $25 file review fee, and they pay their $85 a month. EXP takes that $2,000 and they divide it in half. They keep 50% of it to run the company, and the other 50%, which is 1,000, so 1,000 to run the company, and 1,000 goes back into revenue share that month. And it gets distributed through 7 different generations of agents through that. That's really all that I say about it. So yes, it's a different amount depending on what generation it is. And if somebody really wants to understand all of those amounts, hold on one second. I'll bring up a little visual because it's easier to have something to look at.
By the way, I love the word generations instead of levels.
Yeah.
Right.
That
That's
sounds
good
off.
enough. And then I've been sending him screenshots of my rev share and just saying to him, I've only been here for 10 months and I'm getting 2-3 grand a month, which is kind of happening weirdly. So, so that helped. I mean, and that's not a lie. It's truth and, looks good. So I don't know.
You're
Yeah.
my favorite. I love how you say stuff, which, is happening.
It's happening. Okay, so let me up.
So, we're kind of besties, Stacy and I. I don't know if you know that. So, yeah. So, we're like all like fangirling over here going, we have Casey to ourselves for a whole hour. So,
It's not a lie. That's actually very true. I'm like, I'm glad. Well, whoever needed to dip today, you go do you. I'm getting what I need today. I love it.
So Claire, when you said, hey, I want to hire you to coach me one-on-one, and I said, no, I'm not doing that. Come to these calls. It's because when the calls are smaller, this is what we're doing anyway. And now you have different people. We're getting different things that we're covering.
I
So,
like it. Yeah. I'll
so
be here.
EXP toolkit revenue share is where we're at. And
Okay,
if you go down here to infographics charts. It's this one. Let me just open. Okay. So Claire, when EXP,
No. So,
when EXP takes their $1,000, right? So of that scenario, we had a $10,000 commission check.
mhm.
8,000 goes to the agent, 2,000 goes to EXP. EXP keeps $1,000 to run the company, and they take that other $1,000 and pay revenue share. So here's how it gets paid out.
And how many levels are open now? Like if you're capped?
If you're capped, you have, and it shows it here. See where it says cap? You're getting paid 5 levels.
Brilliant.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
If you're an icon agent, you get all of them opened up. So when Epic says, oh, we pay 10% on every level, oh, bad idea. Because we pay 17.5 on level 1, 19 on level 2, 12 on level 3, and then yes, 4 and 5 dip, but then you're back up to 10. And oh, by the way, 22.5, right? So if you want to talk that all day long, you're like, why would I do 10%?
Right. Okay,
None of
good.
that-
Yeah,
none-
I couldn't
None
have
of that,
that.
add them all up and divide them. It's still way more than 10%. So
About the cap part. Like, so I capped and now I'm going to roll over again on December 1st. I'm going to cap again, but like like, does it stop on December 1st for me?
it stops for your sponsor and all of the generations above you because you are not paying any revenue to the company now. You're getting 100% of your commission.
Right.
The way that
Yeah.
there's revenue share for the
Right.
generations
I get
above you is if there's revenue coming from you because you're not capped. Once you are capped, and once the agents in the generations after you are capped for the rest of their calendar year, there is no more rev share because there is no more revenue to the
I
company.
get that. That's easy enough for my brain to understand. But what I'm asking is, so I capped in April. My anniversary date is December 1. Like, so does December 1, I go back to the 5
Zero.
to 9 because that's where I am. So I get 4 levels or whatever until I cap again? Or is there?
No, so for you, the cap, once you cap under this new plan, you have all 5 levels open up for a year.
From capping. So like I have till April again to cap.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so from the time that you cap or the time that you icon, you've got that 13 months after that where those respectively 5 levels for cap or all 7 levels for icon are open.
Okay.
Which is really genius because if somebody ever says, you know, EXP is about recruiting, actually they're incentivizing production, right? So uh, they want agents capping. We've got the fast cap program. Why? Because if you don't have a mature organization, you're more than likely not going to have agents on generation 4 or 5. And when people are like, oh, I don't understand the revenue, it's like, oh, it's like a family tree. It's like family genealogy. Like instead of who was born first, it's at what point someone comes to the company, and that's where they get plugged in the family tree.
I
Right.
love all this. This is really great. Because when they did this at EXPCon, I was like, I have no fucking idea what just happened. So,
Okay,
that's
so
awesome.
tell me, pretend I'm your prospect, and what would you say to me now? I'm at Epic, and all levels are open, and it's 10% on every level.
What was your production this year? Like, did you like how much real estate volume did you sell, Casey?
I did 15 million.
Wow. How many transactions was that?
It was 20.
So now I don't know. Do you have to have 25 to Icon?
You have to have 500,000 in GCI or an additional 20 sides after you cap.
Okay, so you would be a capping agent, which means that you would have capped at about 3.2 million, and therefore you have 5 levels open, and the first 3 are over 10%. What do we got here? 30, 45, about 15% per level on those 3 levels average. So, yeah, so, and you have that for 13 months after you cap, plus you are at 100%. Is that answer? Is that a good answer?
Okay, so no, that's great. Because I immediately now, why would I take 10% when I could get
15.
15?
Right.
That's pretty straightforward,
Yeah. So,
right?
cool. Yeah, I get it. And yeah, I just need enough, like, again, need enough information to be dangerous. But I love that I have, you know, they didn't, it isn't in my bank account, which is weird. The rev share thing happened weird this month, and like the pay me now button, because sometimes I like to use it, but sometimes I don't. It says it paid me, but doesn't it pay on the 22nd?
So it pays between the 15th and the 20th, depending on when they close the books.
Okay.
So they closed the books early on the 13th, and it paid yesterday, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't look yesterday.
I got
So,
mine yesterday.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, all of
And
that.
and just FYI, it is no longer, it's now 1% you get
I know.
charged
Yeah.
if you do the pay me early. So
It was
they
fun when it was $1.
it is way more fun than it was $1. However, they did not anticipate how much money they would be fronting and losing by doing that. So they had to change it. Oops.
Makes sense. Yeah. So,
It's
yeah,
good to know that in the case of emergency, if you needed to get it, you could.
yeah, I will. Yeah. So,
I have a
yeah,
question. If I don't, I know we're tight on time. You said Epic pays 10 on all levels and all levels are open immediately. Can you give me a quick snapshot on Real? because they seem to be the ones doing a little bit, and I do mean a little, but a little bit of damage in my market.
Yeah, so the biggest thing about Real, I would say, is that you have to qualify to open up the levels after the first one, right? The first one's open, but you have to have 5, 10, 15, 20 to open up 2, 3, 4, 5. But the biggest thing about Real is they stop at 5. And if you look at any mature organization in this space, over 50% of the revenue share from my organization comes from level 6 and 7.
That's me.
Yes.
That's you. Yeah, and it's
A
because
closing coming next month. I just want you to know.
it's because of when an organization matures, it's that compounding interest, right?
That's what I
So
said.
if
That-
you're, as you grow, like if you're serious, if you
Mhm.
don't just want chump change rev share and you want to build, like you're a builder that wants to build an organization, why would you leave 50% of money on the table to the company that you'll never be able to access because they don't pay on 6 and 7?
Yeah.
So
That's,
you want to be in that conversation, number one, right? And that's a unique conversation for someone that's a builder. For the person that's selling, it's a little bit different. But yeah, to be continued, bring more questions back on our next call. I have one at the top of the hour, which we need to stop
Yep,
this.
we're gonna go.
This room to get it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being on. Hopefully that was valuable. Grab
Oh
those.
my God. Oh, you're the best, Casey. We love you. Okay.
I love you guys too. All right.
Thanks so much for your time.
Good one.
Welcome. Bye.